After 21 long years of not playing RuneScape, I decided to come back and answer the age-old question. Should you play this game? And the short answer is... nope. Okay. In all seriousness, my short answer is no. But my long answer is also no. You're probably wondering then, why the hell is this video so long? And that's because I want to explain it in a very constructive way, why I don't think you should exactly play RuneScape. But first, here's a quick tutorial in case you actually don't know what RuneScape is. Welcome to the 1-minute tutorial on how to play RuneScape. Do you see that tree over there? Would you like to chop it down? Why? I don't know. First, check your inventory. Do you have an axe? Then simply just click on that tree. Care to do it again? No? Well, how about that goblin? Would you like to murder him? How about another? A quest, you say? Well, make sure you open that wiki. Let's start with the proof. Everyone and their mother is just gonna think I booted up the game, did Tutorial Island, cut a tree, baked a cake, killed a goblin, and said, well, F this. Well, read them and weep, dear viewer, because I have sunk almost 10 days, 10 days of my life into this game. Before anyone assumes that this video is just a really long rant as to why you shouldn't play RuneScape, let me start by first listing everything I actually loved about the game.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Let's go back in time. I'm talking way back. I'm playing World of Warcraft, but not classic World of Warcraft. I'm talking classic World of Warcraft. CRT screen World of Warcraft. And at level 40, you get your first mount. And the only thing I remember doing as a kid was just riding. I just explored. I spent hours riding around all these zones. Coming back to RuneScape after 21 years, it gave me that exact same feeling that I had as a kid. I would just find myself running around all these different zones. It really doesn't feel like you're playing an MMO, but rather that you've been teleported to another world. You're terrified of these areas with high-level mobs, and you giggle excitedly as you unlock new areas and marvel at how original all of them feel. I thought that they were kind of lacking in snowy worlds until I did a troll quest that sent me way up north, and my god was it cool. It really felt like I was heading to the edge of the world. It was snowy, and I was dying of cold, and I thought about how long this run back was gonna take, and it was glorious. I think that this is the hardest and most essential thing an MMO should do. Immerse you in another world. Make you feel like you're not sitting at your desk doing your dailies and skinning your boars. You're an adventurer that gets to go on actual adventures. And honestly, that alone might make the game worth playing, but it's a very strong might.
Jump! Jump! Land! Land!
You see, RuneScape makes you work your ass off for things. Sometimes too much, but when it's done right, oof, it just feels so good. I played a really long time ago, back when the game was 2D and looked like somebody just made it on MS Paint. And I didn't know about half of the cool things that they had added. Problem was, I had no money. Money's both easy and hard to make depending on how much information you look up, and if you obviously convert it from real money. But I wanted to avoid money-making guides. I just wanted to do it organically, and I'm really glad that's the route I went down. I would crap my pants every time I saw a blue-colored item dropping on the floor, even though it might only be 10 or 20k gold, which might as well be the equivalent of a penny for the ultra-late game things that you can buy. But for me, I could spend my money on food, on potions, on gems to cut for crafting XP, new gear. And wow, does the feeling of upgrading your gear actually feel earned. I think earned is the perfect adjective. Everything feels earned. You worked your ass off and you get something nice in exchange. Compared to most MMOs where in a week of doing content, you're basically being showered with free loot just for killing a boss or clearing a dungeon that maybe takes you, I don't know, an hour tops. I worked my ass off for my first million or 2 million gold, and it felt great. Even more so when you see that most of the items in this game are so unique. Items feel original. They have so much love and care put into them. I hate, and I mean hate, games where gear are just stat sticks.
Oh, well, this cloak has +2 more agility and 3 more stamina, so I guess I'll swap it.
Why bother making gear at this point? Why not just hand out the stats to your character and cut the middleman? I love getting new pieces of gear in RuneScape. When I saw you could dual wield swords at 55 attack, I couldn't believe my eyes at first. And the next thing I did was power level my attack so I could pick up my own set, and it felt great. There's an amulet that lets you talk to cats. There's an amulet that lets you talk to ghosts. I could spend hours gushing over this section and the one before it. And for both of these 2 points, I think RuneScape gets an 11 out of 10. It should be the gold standard of how new MMOs should make their areas and design their loot. So to this, I say bravo to the team. But this progression can be found, oddly enough, also in their skills. One of RuneScape's initial pain points, which actually might be strategically a brilliant game design choice, is by how atrocious it feels to move around the world. And naturally, everything you want to do is spaced far apart. Gielinor is a huge world, and I seriously mean huge. However, one of the skills in the game, magic, lets you cast these teleport spells as you progress. And man, does this make the game infinitely more bearable. You can craft and enchant necklaces that teleport you around to other locations. You can do quests to unlock dragon jewelry, fairy rings, and so much more. I can go from here to here in a literal second. This is very satisfying, as before you just had to slog and schlep around the world like a peasant. There's an agility skill which unlocks these convenient shortcuts, and the depth is kind of nuts. If WoW's a lake, then RuneScape might as well be the bottom of the ocean. I'll show you an example. I was leveling up my Slayer, and there was a task to kill fire giants. Now, fire giants are located way up north. And to get them, you go into this little cave and run around. Except there are these stupid spiders which suck half your prayer. And you hate them, and you click, and you can't dodge them. But wait, there's a little crevice. All you need is the right agility level. And you what? You need to complete the Wilderness Medium Achievement Diary to use... Holy shit. You're saying I have to do all of this and get all of these skills just to fit in this tiny hole? At first you're pissed. This is ridiculous. But then you work on things, you make some progress, and now when you go back to kill more fire giants, oh baby, that squeeze, it feels so good. All of this sounds amazing. Why the hell aren't you telling me to play then? Well, dear viewer, I have one painfully glaring word that makes me not able to recommend this game for you, and that's... Everything in RuneScape, and I mean everything, requires 6 skills. Attack, strength, defense, prayer, magic, and ranged. In order to do the early game content for killing bosses, I'm talking one mechanic entry-level content, most guides will recommend a minimum of 70 to 75 in every one of these stats. To do the higher tier stuff, you're looking at 90s in all of these stats. For reference, I've been playing for roughly 10 real-time days. That's more than 200 hours. And my stats are still not past the 60s, except for magic. And that's one of the easier skills to level, as when you teleport around and do other things, you're basically getting passive magic experience. Magic and prayer are honestly quite easy if you have money and look up some guides. And even range is not too bad once you start unlocking these things called chinchampas, which are basically exploding hamsters which do AoE damage. And yes, I'm not making that up. You basically throw exploding hamsters at clusters of mobs to just get some decent level of experience. Now, the sad reality is that most of these bosses or quests will require you to level up melee, as some monsters are immune to magic damage. It kind of forces you to taste all the different ice cream flavors, at least every now and then. But my problem is how painfully slow it is to level these skills and how they are optimally leveled. The most recommended way to level these skills is by going to the jungle and finding this giant crab made out of gems and clicking it once and letting your character just wallop it for several minutes while you go do something else. It kind of blows my mind that this is the standard path. This is what I mean by tedium. Whatever option you choose, it's still going to take you hundreds, and yes, I mean hundreds of hours to level to 90. That is insane to me. And the sad reality is that these stats are vital. The AFK gem crab should be the only way that takes you hundreds of hours to level up as a compromise, versus the people who actually just want to play the game and make meaningful progress via monster hunting or quests. This is why I cannot recommend the game to anyone, because everything in this game will require you to sink hundreds of hours just so you can move on to the next piece of cool content. And the sad part is there's a lot of cool content to explore. And the even sadder part is that for new players, people who don't have a massive bank account full of gold to spend on quick upgrades and cannonballs, exploding hamsters, are basically just gonna get screwed. They're either forced to go to the AFK giant gem crab or kill 1,000,000 goblins. I would find myself unable to continue doing certain quests just because I needed to grind out these horrible skills like rune crafting. Oh. Which is just a terrible skill to level because it's tedious. You go to a bank, you grab a bunch of essence, you run to an elemental altar, and you do this over and over and over till you either quit or you enter into some type of Stockholm syndrome. But more than Desert Treasure 2, there's actually one quest I'm dying to see for myself, and that's Dragon Slayer 2. Yeah, there's a lot of 2 in this game. I remember doing the original Dragon Slayer way back in the day. It's such an iconic quest, and it ends with you killing your first dragon. So when I saw the requirements for the second part, again, some of these wouldn't be so bad, but when I'm adding in the hours, it's a few dozen hours of more grinding. Not to mention the level 100 combat. Sometimes this can be seen in the literal areas themselves. Look at this. What is this? How did this get past quality assurance? I think the concept for a vampire ghetto for their human familiars is a cool idea.
Yes, great idea.
Yes.
But now when I have to pull out a chart or use a plugin to move around it, it is sad that according to the quest helper, the most efficient way of moving from here to here is by talking to a vampire, having him send me to the mines so I can mine 15 rocks, and then getting sent here so I can walk in a relatively straight line. Why? This should not be the case at all. This quest could have been so cool, and it was kind of ruined by the fact that they just keep sending you here and there and here and there. And normally it's not a problem, but dear Zeus in heaven, was it a problem? I even tried to do it without a guide, and I would just keep getting stuck. I swear I'm not exaggerating here. This area is literally impossible to navigate without some type of plugin or add-on. There are so many examples of this tedium that unfortunately manifest themselves in Quest. They make the horrible layout of the vampire ghetto look like a walk in the park compared to what is about to come. Underground Pass, Regicide, and the Morning are by far the 3 worst, most tedious things I've ever had to do in a video game. For perspective, in the Underground Pass, you have to navigate, well, an underground pass in order to get access to the land of the elves. And in true RuneScape fashion, this is a big ass dungeon filled with cool puzzles and interesting monsters, and you have to get orbs and put planks over traps, and you push a boulder down a cliff and crush a unicorn to death. It's beautiful. But you know what's not beautiful? This. Why did you think that having a snake-like bridge with jumps that dropped you on the literal other side of the continent and make you take damage, why did they think this was a good idea? If you fall, you have to do this entire run back. And that's assuming you have energy potions or energy restore left. Because if not, you have to see this walking animation for the whole time. And there is not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 ways you can fall. And you have to start the whole thing all over again.
You what?
This is tedium, ladies and gentlemen. This is literally wasting your time. There's no challenge, no fun. It just sucks. You somehow make it out and anticlimactically throw some voodoo doll into a cauldron to defeat the evil wizard, but screw it. At this point, just let me in already. And you're finally out, baby. The promised elvish lands. Oh, so much green. And then you open your quest log and it tells you to continue with the next thrilling part of the story, Regicide. Sweet. Until you realize that at some point they make you go through the underground pass again.
You what?
Why? Why couldn't they just put a shortcut or a dude? They did it with the gnome village. There's an NPC who guides you out of the maze. And honestly, that maze is a goddamn joke compared to this. I'd gladly walk through that maze 5 times if it meant avoiding the underground pass. But they make you go through it twice. 2 times. This quest made me consider quitting the game. I'm serious. I felt like I was just paying money to get punched in the balls over and over. But the bastards are back at it again. In the morning end, there's this dungeon where these shadows constantly attack you while you're trying to do some stupid light puzzle in Hookah. And the sad thing is, this tedium really only hits you once you reach the end game. It's almost like they hid it from you, because the early game and the mid game are amazing. You're always making progress, you're always getting something done. You really feel like you're advancing your character every day. But as you start leaving the mid game, you begin to realize that the skill levels that you need to keep doing the content start coming in at a much slower rate. It takes me like an hour or 2 to get a level, and I'm assuming that the average player doesn't have the freedom to spend hours and hours every day clicking at rocks or picking at trees. And honestly, I think if the grinds were more mechanically involved, maybe via puzzles or skill-based activities, then it wouldn't be so bad. You're just literally clicking on a node and waiting for your dude to pick at it. It just feels so out of date by today's standards. And look, in the end, whether you think I'm whining or I'm over-exaggerating, ultimately, a lot of these grinds are just not fun. And I would argue there's really only 2 reasons to play a video game. And I think that's either for fun or for a challenge. Somehow in the middle, we have this uncanny valley of tedium. It's neither fun nor challenging. Your core gameplay loop shouldn't revolve around clicking a tree over and over. This is something that can be easily fixed, and I think has already been fixed within the game. All around the world, you can find these NPCs. I know that there are at least 2, one for construction and one for farming, that basically give you contracts, and they say, hey, go over here, build this, plant this, or grow it for me, and you'll get some money and some XP in return, as well as unique points for a shop. And sadly enough, I actually think these 2 skills don't even really need it. Farming is surprisingly relaxing. You log on and you do your little farming run, you move from patch to patch, collecting, replanting, and the XP you get is quite satisfying too. So yeah, you might not have to level every day, but it's only asking you for 20 or 30 minutes of your time, and you sometimes make pretty good money from planting herbs. So why not make it so that completion of a Slayer task rewards you with an XP lamp for a combat skill? Or for wood cutting? What if somebody made you go cut a tree from some northern area and then shape it into a bow and take it to elves on the other side of the world? Hell, if you're feeling spicy, mount it in his house, and when you're done, you get a nice chunk of XP for all of these skills. And let me tell you, that feeling of getting those chunky XPs after doing a quest, it feels so good. But you know what doesn't feel good? Hitting crabs for hundreds of hours. Look, I don't believe in rites of passage, and I sure as hell don't believe in doing things just because that's the way they were in the past.
I clicked crabs for 300 hours, so you should too.
Imagine if that concept applied to everything in real life. You're emailing me? Real men send faxes. Things can change for the better. The link cable was cool, but imagine if you had to link cable with your friends every time you wanted to battle them in Pokemon. Oh, and all of this is coming from an account that's not Iron Man. For the people who don't know, there are types of accounts where you literally have to grab every single thing and pick every single rock and flower yourself. And I'm pretty sure that if I had to do all of this manually, rather than buy the mats off the auction house, it would have taken me 2 or 3, I don't even know, 10 times longer to get where I am now. Just for reference, in the morning elves,
No, God!
there's a part where you need a chaos talisman. And you can just buy one on the auction house for a measly 1 or 2k gold. Or you can deliver 50 items to this dwarf in exchange for 1 talisman. Holy shit. And why are the shadows there? Why did they think it was a good... Just breathe. There's another point that I want to bring up, and that's...
What is this? Get off! What is this? I'm stuck!
I like the word clunky. There's an oddly satisfying feeling when you find the perfect adjective to describe a situation or thing. Clunky describes this game to a T. The combat is clunky. The movement is clunky. Managing your prayers is clunky. Trying to eat food mid-combat but panicking because your health bar hasn't updated so you eat more food accidentally is clunky. I'd consider myself a World of Warcraft player at heart. It's by far the most hours I've sunk into a game, and let me tell you, that game has a lot of problems.
So the Alliance and Horde could wage war in Kazalgal. You'll never understand. For Erethdor!
But you know what it doesn't have problems with? Clunkiness. It's buttery smooth, baby. The movement, the jumping, the weaving around your opponents, skill expression, mechanics, canceling your spells, interrupting spells, healing, all of it feels smooth. It needs to feel smooth. Because guess what? That's 95% of what you do every minute, every hour of every day you log on to this game. I will say, the things that they've managed to do with a 20-year-old combat system is insanely impressive. The fact that you can actually do mechanics on a browser-based game and have some level of depth to them is a legitimate feat of human ingenuity. But it doesn't matter how delicious your cake is if I have to eat it with half a chopstick and a whisk. The few bosses that I've done so far boil down to using prayers, moving out of stuff, and breaking things. And it's not inherently bad, but it's also just not that fun. Sometimes you click on the wrong tile and your dude just starts spazzing around, running through fire or the trap or missing the window. Opening a menu and toggling which immunity you want just feels weird to me. The whole concept of protect prayers just feels like an archaic relic from the past. But look, this video isn't about game design, so I'm not gonna go further down that rabbit hole. All in all, I'm gonna say I had fun playing RuneScape. RuneScape is actually never mid. It's either awesome or awful. There's no real middle ground to RuneScape. I think the only way I would recommend RuneScape is if you were willing to commit a small amount of your day for an extended period of time. I think if you just logged on for a bit, got a level or two, and did that slowly over the course of a few months or even a year, little by little grinding down the stone so that you can unlock the next cool quest or piece of content, then yeah, I think you should definitely play RuneScape. But I think like most ex-junkies, including myself, when you get on a game, you want to play a lot. You're excited to get back home from work and all you can think about is the giant list of things that you just can't wait to do the moment you log on. And for the first 100 to 150 hours, I was that person. Now I'm just thinking about what skill I need to grind out so I can continue playing the game. RuneScape is just too far on the other side of the spectrum. So no, I can't recommend you play RuneScape. The investment it asks of you is just way too much for a normal person with reasonable free time. I want to thank you if you've made it this far into the video. If you could subscribe or share it to somebody, it would really mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.